Greetings, fellow Beyonders. I am your humble host and scribe, Sven, and this is Beyond the Worlds Beyond. The primary purpose of this series will be exploring the lore and story within these campaigns. In this episode, we'll be looking at the 11th episode of The Wizard, the Witch, and the Wild One, titled Promises, Promises. We'll be doing a quick summary of the episode and then diving into the lore questions that it raises and those that it answers. The tense discussion with Arima continues as we open this episode. Though her threat towards Alme and Ursulon stands, some quick thinking and talking on their part diffuses things slightly. Meanwhile, her obliviousness to Suvi continues, apparently due to some property of Suvi's pendant. Eventually, Ursulon once more takes up Wavebreaker and swears on his honor, and through his honor, to use it to free Naram. We also learn that the magic that is currently keeping Arima from entering Amora of her own accord was set in place through an offering left by Grandmother Wren. Leaving Arima's shrine, the trio finds a place to rest briefly among the overgrown ruins that were once the village of Lamry. Despite the respite, tensions remain high both among the crew and, for Suvi, at the looming arrival of Steel. The return trip to Port Talon is without incident, since apparently all incident was saved for the arrival itself. Here, the dice clearly thirsting for drama. One failed roll after another sees the party fail to deceive the Azure Battalion guards, arouse their suspicions further, and eventually result in their arrest. An arrest that nearly moves into murder as Suvi spirals further and further under the duress. Taken, manacled, to the Azure Battalion barracks and stripped of Suvi's staff and Wavebreaker, the mention of Galani's name leads to her being alerted to the situation. Much to Suvi's dismay, this also means Steel is alerted as well, and, with her large speaking mirror physically brought to the barracks, begins to bring Suvi to task. As her magical image looms large over them, with her currently on an airship that will soon arrive, and with Alme having caught her attention, we end this week's episode. Before we start asking new questions, let's take a look at the ones we've asked before and see which, if any, we now have answers for. Last episode, we had asked how and why Arima could not perceive Suvi. We now know that it is somehow linked to the amulet she received from her mother. Glad that I called that one correctly, and it also answers, at least in part, a question we posed all the way back in the very first Then and Now preview about the importance of the necklace. It may simply be an amulet of non-detection, but I still suspect there will be more for us to learn about it and its importance. As for new questions, besides just how screwed is Suvi, I am left wondering about the reveal that Grandma Wren was responsible for the offering that is blocking Arima from entering Amora directly. Though first, let's recognize how brilliant a piece of respectful trickery it is, and how hard it hits that its magical signature is rooster-shaped incense smoke. I still miss Taro. But the question to ask is why and when Wren put this plan into motion. If she did it before the capture of Naram, before Arima's fury was truly raised and tested, why did she feel the need to keep her away? If it was instead done after Naram's capture, why did she not set anything in place towards trying to free Naram? Perhaps it is another impact of the curse, though if so, why would they want to blind her to Naram's plight? Since Mora himself was unaware of Wren's importance, it would have to be another force manipulating matters. Or it may be that Wren did set things in motion and that, even despite the curse, she had more agency in the fate of Wavebreaker and the trio than it appears on the surface. Brennan himself poses the next question. Why are Wren's spells still active now that she has passed from this world? I suspect the answer will be the simple one. Well, simple in theory, though I am sure the practice is complex. I suspect that Wren, in passing all that was hers to Alme before she died, also passed the bonds of these various spells and rituals, which will potentially give no shortage of future plot points to potentially call upon. Who knows what other important spells Alme is maintaining without even being aware of them? Another question raised within the episode is, what is the fate of a witch's familiar upon the death of the witch? Taro, we saw, dissipated when Ren passed, but he had also lived much longer than the normal lifespan of a rooster, so that may be the cause. Ame assumes the fox would go back to being a Monday fox if she were to die, but Brennan makes sure to point out that is only assumption. Hopefully, Ame survives and we never need to learn the actual answer, but if she does perish, I definitely hope our little butthole sticks around. Finally, there is a line by Arima about Ursulon being blocked from returning to the world of spirits, where she states that his way is shadowed. It definitely seems that, connected or not, shadows are a recurring theme in this campaign, and I have to assume that this was a very intentional turn of phrase on Brennan's part. What exactly does it mean by his way being shadowed, and who or what is responsible? The curse manifests as shadow, so that could be linked. Shadows bend and bring the night as the King of Night walks the roads, so another potential culprit. Unless he is also linked to the curse. I'm still getting the vibe that he is not, but we'll see. The sorcerers of Ruve summon and bind shadows, and likely other spirits, to chalices to serve as their agents. That seems the least likely link to the three, though, for it would require Ruvians to have knowledge of Ursulon prior to the conflict with Emless, and to have actively worked against him for a long time. We really haven't seen anything that would suggest that. Or it could be something new and different altogether. I suspect we won't find out anytime soon, but I look forward to when we do find out. That's all for this installment of Beyond the Worlds Beyond. As always, please feel free to throw your own questions and theories in the comments, as I love hearing what others latched on to. Also, please consider liking and subscribing if you have not already. If you want more Worlds Beyond Number content, you can also visit my Patreon, linked below, to find my appendix and timeline projects, all of which are free and publicly available. I've been your host, Sven, and thank you very much for listening. Farewell, for now, fellow Beyonders.